everybody, welcome back. I'm Simming in Oz. Hope everyone's been well. I have been having an amazing day. I'm going to date this video, I'm so sorry, but today The Sims came out with the birthday pack of The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 with all their expansion packs in a bundle, and I am chomping at the bit to go and play that. Oh, I just feel so happy. Not even it's that I get to go play it, just the fact that they did it. I was so blown away when it happened, and I'm like, oh, they did listen. It's gonna have issues, but they did listen. So that's on the background, so I'm in a great mood today. Typically what we're doing today though is we are making an English pub. Now this is a very specific English pub because it's a part of our Harry Potter world, and it's actually the secret entrance to the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic isn't going to be in this video just because I was building this and I started out with a pub and then I sort of had to fill in the rest of the lot. So I popped in just a typical street, some other buildings, a cafe, a laundromat, and I thought to myself, wow, this has taken a really long time. Am I going to be able to fit the ministry in this video as well? And then I built the ministry, and gang, I am not kidding. I was getting Hogwarts vibes from how long and detailed and in-depth that ministry turned out to be. So this video is going to be in two parts. Now, part number 1 is going to be everything above ground, and then part number 2 is going to be everything below ground. And trust me, below ground is immense. Oh my God, I was blown away. But anywho, we're starting out with a typical English pub. I did research some ideas on what it should look like, and thankfully the bistro kit is coming in clutch yet again. I love that kit so much. And this is one of those instances where I just spent so long on the facade just because I wanted it to be extra perfect. I didn't want it to be like green or red or anything in terms of the actual pub itself. I really love this blue that I went with, and I felt it's understated and fancy. Though understated is not the word I'd use for this pub, but I really love the blue. I think if it was any other color, it would be too much, but the blue just really grounds it and brings it back to reality. And then of course I can't do any build without absolutely showering it in greenery, so I had a lot of fun with that. I did struggle with certain aspects of this build in that I wanted to do a really cool pub, but then the pub turned out a lot smaller than I was intending. So I just sort of had to go, all right, so what can I do besides the pub above ground? And I thought, okay, I could do a cafe, I could do a laundromat. And then I just had a little bit of trouble thinking to myself, how am I going to lay it out? Because I didn't want it to be like one city block all in one clump. I really wanted to divide it up and have different levels, because I find with Henford-on-Bagley, it's not a town that has like city blocks or anything. As this is the only, shop and commercial district within the town, I was willing to be a bit flexible, but I felt like one big massive building mall structure wasn't going to work in terms of putting in what I needed to put in, so I needed to find a way to separate everything. So I decided to do a little street between the two buildings. So on this side you have the pub and the laundromat, and then a little street, and then you have a cafe and a little park, and it's really cute. There's a lot of dead space because I just didn't want to fill up the upper floors that make up the upper floors of these buildings. So there is quite a bit of dead space, but I do use some of it, but mostly not all of it. But it looks great anyway, and to this point I was going really smooth, and then I got to the bar section and I was like, I'm not good at bars. So I had to really just dig deep and, fall back on my instincts and just see what worked. find every time I do a build, I always feel better once I've put columns in, and columns get in the way of my builds so much. If I was actually to play one of my builds, I feel like I'd get really annoyed by the amount of columns that I use, just because you have to sort of peek behind them just to see what's going on. But in terms of a creative and decorating aspect, I love using columns. I just think they add depth to any room. I hate a room that just has wallpaper and then nothing else. Like, get some columns in there, man. Give it some dimension and some structure. I love that kind of thing. So I always feel a lot better once that's done, and then it all just sort of comes together, and I feel like I hit my theme around this point. I wanted the walls to be incredibly cluttered, and I wanted a fan, and I am struggling so much with lighting lately. I don't know if it's Henford on Bagley. I don't know if it's just The Sims in general. But for whatever reason, I just can't get anything to light properly, especially downstairs in the Ministry of Magic itself, where it's all just basement levels. I just felt like no matter what I did, it just would not light correctly. And there's different kinds of lights within The Sims, so I don't like white light. I need warm light, but then the warm lights aren't as powerful as I feel like the white lights are. So I'm between a rock and a hard place every single time, especially because I'm a very classic builder. I don't do a lot of modern things, so I have to stick towards old-fashioned lighting, and suffice to say, old-fashioned lighting is not doing it. So upstairs, I wanted the bar area to actually be 2 stories, and I felt like it worked out really, really well, and I loved how it turned out. And I love this little wall of wine and everything, just because I feel like that's so reminiscent of a pub, just to display all their good wines on a shelf somewhere, and for special occasions you can buy one and everything. And I love the second story aspect, so you can go upstairs but still the bar area is all open, and then the 2 rooms branch off into, you have the eatery area and then you have the rumpus room upstairs. And for someone who struggles a little bit with floor plans and layouts, I feel like I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Though, can I complain for a moment? I feel like I haven't complained about this before on this channel, but the absolute hardship it is to find a bench that actually works with bars is just so hard. Like, just give us more benches, please, and make them match other benches at least a little cohesively, and make them match the bars that you give us. You give us a bar. I'm sorry, I'm now speaking to EA. Sorry, I do that. But you give us bars like every single pack, and yet you don't give us just benches that match. And it's so annoying when I'm trying to create like an outdoor bar area, or just, an English pub on a street, and I have to go, oh no, what works? And they're all just different levels of wood tones. So look at that. That's a black top area against a really nice darker brown. It's black against brown. What are you doing, EA? Alright, I'm sorry. I'll get back to it now. I'm sorry. I just needed to say that. I had no idea I was going to get that passionate about it, but my god, it is so tedious. I'm just like, I'm a perfectionist in my heart and soul, and EA is trying to kill me. They are. They're trying their best. It's okay. I'm Miss Sunshine and Positivity. We're taking a breath. So, we're doing the rumpus room upstairs, I think, next, and I kind of liked how it turned out. I was a little scared to do the rumpus room just because I didn't want it to look lazy. I didn't have a plan in mind for it, but then I decided to follow the theme of these really open plan doors that sort of branch out. I feel like it's very contradictory to the weather. If it's Henford on Bagley and if it's England, then it's kind of cold, but I've got the windows open as if it's the middle of summer in New Orleans. I don't know, but I liked how it looked. So I really liked how I feel like it sort of made the space and it gave it some really good dimension, because, I don't love a square room in any capacity. It needs to have some oomph to it. So that's what I decided to do in terms of the rumpus room. And then I really wanted to give it like an old-fashioned fireplace, nothing too fancy. A few times during this build, I had to bring it back to Old English, but just because I was going a little bit too hard on the Life and Death furniture pack that is currently haunting me, because no matter what I do, I can't stop using that stuff, and I feel like all my rooms are starting to look the same. Thankfully, I am doing a Harry Potter themed thing at the moment, so I can probably get away with it. But as soon as I start doing like Star Wars and Barbie, which is next, and that's not going to fly. So I have to get out of the habit. I have to stop being obsessed with the Life and Death pack, or I'm going to get in trouble and my builds are going to look really weird. So upstairs, I decided to go with the leather couches I never use. I never use those couches from the Horse Ranch pack, just because I'm not really into leather stuff that's that shape. I feel like it's a bit old-fashioned, but it was perfect for my purposes here. And then, of course, I used the lovely fireplace. You cannot use the dartboard. The dartboard is purely decoration. I could not find a space in that room where it would actually work, and I'm so sorry about that. But I liked it that I gave them like foosball and ping pong. I kind of wish I'd taken the ping pong table out and given them the Don't Wake the Llama or a poker table, but I wasn't sure how a poker table was going to go with the vibe of an English pub. I'm not sure if that's a thing. But, oh no, it worked out. Now, we're moving on to the eatery downstairs, which I love so much. Oh, fun fact. You see those fans on the wall of the storage room? I love those. Those are like one of my favorite items in the whole pack. What I really appreciate when Sims does it, I really love it, is they give us items that move on their own. So say a fan, or just fans, or TVs that are on in the background, or stuff like that that just have a little bit of movement to them naturally. I love that. I love it so much. I think it adds life to any build. So if I can add a fan into every build that I ever do, I'm going to do so, because I just feel like it really livens up the place. Now, I have looked into extensively bar layouts in the past, just because for whatever reason I had a family member who was going to look into purchasing a bar at one point, and of course I got really inspired by that idea, and I was thinking, all right, so if they were going to have a bar, what would it look like? So I've done a lot of research. I love the bar stool ideas. I love those certain windows you see in old-fashioned pubs. And then you've got to have the heavy set tables with the wrought iron bottoms, or else the tables are too light. And with pubs, you need to be very specific about your tables. They need to be heavy enough that people aren't going to be tipping them over willy-nilly. And then the fireplace, I sort of changed that out to something still old, but not Hemford on Bagley. And this is me just filling up the walls with some greenery and everything. And if I can pop a hanging plant in, I will. It's one of those things. I didn't want to crowd the eatery too much. I wanted there to be a few tables and chairs, because this is a small town and, you know, everyone wants to sit at the bar and everything, but, you know, it is what it is. And then I really wanted like little seating nooks. You know, when you walk into a library and the best place to sit is on the couches, and everyone wants to sit on the couches. I sort of went with that idea. So on this side of the eatery is actually little nooks where you can actually sit down on a couch with a table between you and have a drink. I feel like it's a bit of a chill area. If you didn't want to sit at a dining table or on a bar stool, this is your area. And this is exactly where you would find me if I was in this property. I would be in the corner, on the couch, on my phone, reading fan fiction. That's me. So if you were to find me in a bar at all, which is kind of unlikely because I'm not really about that, but yep, that's exactly where I'd be in any scenario. I go camping and my family bag me out for bringing like books and my Kindle and my phone and like extra charges. I once bought an entire massive battery, a big camping battery that you like charge, and then you take it away and you can like plug things into it. It's massive. It's really heavy too. It's like a size of a toddler. And I charged it up and took it camping with me just so I could play The Sims on my laptop. I got about 3 hours worth of Sims gameplay just from charging that big battery, just because my laptop is also quite hefty. And it requires a lot of juice, especially when you're playing The Sims. So it's totally worth it because I was going to be playing The Sims. You don't take me camping and expect me not to bring my own entertainment. So now we come to the bathrooms. Now the bathrooms were really important, and I needed to get them correct because this is a Ministry of Magic build, and it's all about how you enter the Ministry of Magic, because obviously it has to be a secret, but with the amount of magical spellcasters that honestly live on Henford-on-Bagley, I don't think it can be too much of a secret, because most of the residents are a part of the magical world at this point. I think it's only really Wallace and Gromit that isn't, and that makes me chuckle, because it's just like the whole town knows, and then you've just got Wallace who doesn't know. Oh my god, that's funny to me. I'm so sorry. It's a lot more funny than I thought it was going to be, but I just love that Wallace is just living in ignorance while the rest of the town is just like, just let him be. He's fine. He does not know. He's not going to know. He barely notices anything. It's okay. So we've got the bathrooms. They were very important because they needed to have secret entrances to the ministry in them. I also had this idea that I wanted them to be really fancy. I have been hankering to do a fancy bathroom for so long because all of those gold tones from the Life and Death pack were so lovely that I just really wanted to make a fancy bathroom. And I love green with this tile. It's so pretty. And this tile is currently a favorite of mine at the moment just because it is so nice looking and I love the pattern of it and the colors and everything. I'm going to be using it a lot more, I'm so sorry. So with the toilets, I needed to find a way to get from A to B. So how can we put in a secret entrance? Well, there's only really one way in The Sims because we don't have teleporters and elevators were not a thing. So I had to do secret passageways, and I hope the bookshelves just didn't look too weird. Like maybe this is one of those quirky hipster pubs that has like a bookcase in a bathroom and you just sort of blink at it and go, oh yeah, sure. And then the residents, I've tested it, they just walk right on through, which I thought was really cool. Typically in canon, they go through a police phone box or something like that, or they go through a toilet. So I do add a police phone box in later, and then that's just, you know, that covers our bases. Oh, the TV. I love this. I went back later and I added a TV on the wall, and it's probably my favorite bit of the whole build because, oh my god, it's so cute. Because I'm just like, yes, this works. This is nice. And I just really liked how it turned out. And then I had to work on the facade of the building. Obviously, the brick brown building that I'm working on currently right now, it's not functional. There's nothing behind it except a secret entrance to the Ministry of Magic and a bathroom. So I sort of had to make it look functional from the outside, but it's not really in practice. And then this is me just sort of trying to figure out how I'm going to lay out the rest of this street to make it look, you know, correct. Because, you know, I love doing streets, but they are really easy to overclutter and screw up. So I sort of had to really bring myself back a little bit. There's a certain thing I love doing, and I was glad I got the opportunity to do it in this build. Every time someone does a street build, I just get, it's like, you know, when your teeth itch, because footpaths should be higher than the actual street because you step up onto a footpath. And every time someone does a footpath in other builds where the footpath isn't a raised platform, I just go, ooh. I just can't help it. It's not a personal thing against them. It's just, I feel like it looks a lot better and more dimensional if you do a platform as the footpath, and then you run into issues of, you know, platforms aren't always the best in The Sims 4. They've got some bugs to them. And if you're doing multi-level basements and everything, sometimes it can be a bit tricky. But, you know, moving on. I just love the way they look. So I was really happy that I was able to do a little street. I can't imagine in the canon of this neighborhood that it's a very functional street. I feel like it's, in my mind, like the service entrance to the pub. So say the pub had like a delivery happen of food or alcohol and they needed somewhere to drop it all off. They wouldn't take it through the main entry of the pub, like the front door. They would have a back entrance. They would have like, a garage and everything. And I feel like that's sort of what we're leaning to. So that's probably the service entrance to the pub in a sort of narrative sense. And I really like that idea. Because then the storage room is right there and the bathroom and everything. So I think it works. I do. And I'm happy I went with that. And then I wanted to add just a little laundry. I had a very limited amount of space and I thought, yeah, I feel like Henford-on-Bagley needs a little laundromat. So I'm going to do one and I love how it turned out. Typically, if I imagine doing a laundromat, I imagine it as a bit grungy. I have been in my fair share of public laundromats, and some of them are so dirty. And then I've been in ones that are just absolutely gorgeous. Like you can tell the owners have taken a lot of pride in it. So I really wanted to go in the other direction with this one. I wanted Henford-on-Bagley to have a really charming, nice little laundromat. It's a little bit faded and cracked and dirty, but not to a degree where you go, oh, this is grungy, like you'd find in San Myshuno or something. So I think it really worked out. I had trouble with the color scheme. I went with yellow. Yellow is so cheerful. It's so Henford, and I like that. And I really wanted there to be tile and everything, and I made the washers and dryers this bright yellow. I also wanted, in typical, if you ever go into a public laundromat, you'll have washers on one side, dryers in their own section, ideally, and then you might have a little sink section, and then some chairs, and a coin machine, and tables for folding, and then baskets, and then leftover lost and found and everything. So I know intimately what this is meant to look like, and I think it turned out really great. I do love that I did pop in some exhaust fans because I love movement, and I love how they just, branch off into the Ministry of Magic. Like it's really just nestled in there. Like it's between businesses and it's just a little bit of fun, and I love it so much. And yes, like it's not functional in any stretch of the imagination, but I feel better knowing it's there because I just didn't want to do like a gym. Why would there be a gym in Henford-on-Bagley? It was really the only thing that made sense. Like they wouldn't have like a club, a nightclub, like a lounge. They'd have a cafe, and I do a cafe across the road, but there's nothing else. Maybe a library, but then I would be, playing with the functionality. The building itself, the lot, had to be a bar. So I didn't want to stray into anything that could be like, oh, it needs to be a library because, there's a library and I can't have both. If I had a wish list, and I feel like The Sims is branching off into areas like this, so I have my fingers crossed, but I feel like EA is giving us options. Like say, for example, when we got City Living, we all thought, oh my God, can we be landlords and everything? And it didn't happen. Just because I feel like maybe they didn't have the time or anything to do that when they made City Living. But we eventually got for rent. I know, they're squeezing us for every penny. However, they did give us what we wanted eventually. And just like today, we've been asking for The Sims 2 forever, and they've finally given it to us. Granted, there might be some bugs, and they're going to work out the bugs eventually. I have hope, but I feel like The Sims is really putting a lot of effort lately into actually giving us exactly what we want. However, we are not going to get open worlds, and we are not going to get cars. Oh my God. When you go on a community post and you read all the comments, and people are so entitled to their comments, and some of them are so valid, but I always thought The Sims 2, definitely. There's no reason we couldn't have had that, and they've given it to us finally. But they gave us some reason. It's like, oh, it's not compatible with modern computers. Obviously, after some effort, it was compatible with modern computers. It's happened. We're here. I booted up The Sims 2 last night, and I am so excited about to go play it, but I have to do this video first. However, I feel like open world and cars it's not going to happen, gang. I'm sorry. I really don't believe it's functional within The Sims 4. And they recently did a 25th year anniversary sort of live stream where they said, we're going to continue on with The Sims 4 for years to come. There is going to be expansions, etc. It's going to be our foundations for what we're going to do moving forward. And Project Renee is going to come into that. And it's going to be its own thing. I still think it's going to be multiplayer, but I feel like it might be multiplayer maybe with a foundation of The Sims 4. I'm not sure, but we'll just have to see what they come up with. However, back to my original point, I feel like they're going to branch out into giving us what we want. So if we wanted, say, multifunctional lots, so if I wanted one lot that was both a library and a bar, I could do so. I feel like that might be in the cards and is doable for The Sims 4 in the future, so I am tentatively holding out hope. Back to the build, we are doing a park, and I really wanted to add a bus stop. I feel like Henford-on-Bagley would be one of those towns that has one bus stop. One bus, one route, and you'd have to get the bus like every hour. It's not every 10 minutes, it's every hour, and I really love the idea of that, so I really wanted to add a bus stop just to make it cute. And with the cafe, it kind of struggled. I was running out of creative juices at this point, and I was like, oh, it's going to have to be a really tiny cafe. I want to add a bathroom. I want to add a park because I didn't want the whole lot to be building. I really wanted there to be an outdoor aspect of it. So I decided to add a little park. It can be a part of the cafe if you like, or it can be a part of just a public space. But I couldn't add a whole playground because I was limited by space. So I just added a nice wooded swing set, and there's an outdoor eatery area, and I think it turned out quite nicely. And I love the street section. Like, I add in like a car and lampposts, and I think it's very much a walkway street. People walk on it more than they drive on it. It's really just a service entrance to drive down and drop off stuff for the bar, and then people would walk down it and, there's my bus stop, and, drop off their laundry and everything. And I really wanted to add an additional eatery thing. I think that's a snacks and everything trailer that you can buy from. Obviously, you've got Crumple Bottoms, flowers and general goods stalls over there. So there's 2 stalls already in this area, and I wanted to add just a second one for like snacks and food, just in case you didn't want to actually go into the bar area and order like a cottage pie or something. Now the billboard, I went full city with this, but it's very specific and there's a rhyme to my madness, I promise you. So I really wanted to add in a billboard to this build. It's very city. It's not something you'd see in Henford-on-Bagley. However, here's my reasoning. I wanted to add in some character relevant to Harry Potter, because at the moment, nothing has been Harry Potter about this build at all. It's very public. It's very generic in terms of a community space, but obviously it's got hidden depths downstairs, but that's not really relevant to this specific video. However, I wanted to give a hint that this is still a magical community, so I decided to do a billboard of Lockhart on top of the building, and it would just seem like something he'd do. He'd so have a billboard up there, and he would have his face on it, and he'd probably be advertising like his next book or something, and I'm chuffed with the idea of it, honestly. But obviously I don't like using mods. I'm not one of those person that likes to use mods to get things done. I am leaning into using mods to do like poses for my Sims, because I like the idea of that, but in terms of gameplay, no, I'm not really about that. I really prefer a vanilla Sims experience, so I have to make my own billboards and this is what I came up with. I just had to take photos, enlarge them, add some text, and make sure the lighting was correct. Now with the cafe, I really wanted it to be a small town cafe, so you walk in and it would be the kind of place that's a little old, a little mixed matched. It's not very big, and the waitress would know absolutely everyone by face and name, and maybe there's a little library section. I once worked at a place where they had a cafeteria and there was a little library section, and you could drop off a book and take a book. And I thought that was so cool and quaint, and I feel like this has similar vibes. There'd be like a library section in the cafe where if you want something to read, feel free to take something, but if you have the means, drop off a book that you don't want anymore. And I feel like that's the vibe I was going for. It's very homely, rustic, and it's cute, and it's very old-fashioned, and I liked it so much. I didn't want it to be too cluttered. I thought it turned out really nice. But really, folks, that is the end of it. I'm excited to do part 2 of this. If you just want to watch this build as a generic English village, go forth. You do not have to watch part 2, but if you'd like to discover the hidden depths of the Ministry of Magic, feel free to stay tuned. I will be putting out that video hopefully next after this one, and you can discover how I turned 4 massive basement levels into a whole Ministry of Magic. So thank you so much for coming along. Like and subscribe if you care to, but otherwise I hope you're having a lovely day. Everyone go out and enjoy The Sims and The Sims 2 that's just come out. I'm so excited. All right, have a good day, everyone. Bye bye.